I mean, this report has been carried out. It's a cross-party report. It's taken 14 months, and Boris Johnson saying it's deranged and he's rubbishing it. What do you make of that?
On both sides, it's not a moment to either celebrate Johnson's demise or, in fact, talk about him just as an individual, because I think what's actually going on here is if we do that, we've missed the opportunity to reflect on our democracy itself. Trust in politics is at an all-time low, and I think Johnson is kind of pushing into this rhetoric, and he's calling it a kangaroo court. It's not. It's been a good decision, but one decision alone will not reverse this trend in the public's trust in politics. We need to ensure better standards, change who we have in the corridors of power, and how they can be more representative of and accountable to the British public. And I think we owe that to those who did lose families during COVID. We've got to learn lessons of what happened and not just focus solely on Boris Johnson.
What do you think Rishi Sunak should do? He's the current Prime Minister. Do you think he should act on this report?
I think he has to both act and also make some serious measures into how he improves our democracy. There are opportunities for him to do that. There are organisations who are submitting ideas to their team on a weekly basis of how we improve UK politics. The first point is to recognise that trust has been broken, and he, as our Prime Minister, needs to help rebuild that. So there are projects that are helping basically people from marginalised backgrounds that are run by Elect Her that try and get more women to stand for Parliament, House of Lords and electoral reform that has been championed by the Electoral Reform Society, and particularly Transparency International's work on standards in public life, which calls for broader scope of regulations, more transparency, more independence for key regulators, and the public is crying out for something better. It deserves something better, and now is the moment to start to rebuild trust in politics, build a democracy fit for the 21st century.
The report found Boris Johnson was, and I quote, complicit in the campaign of abuse and attempted intimidation against the group of MPs. Does that shock you?
Absolutely. It shocks me, but also, I guess, for people like myself who are trying to reform UK politics, it's shock, but also there's some of the things that you see that you are not surprised about. And there is compassion in politics that's calling for a better culture in there that's less oppositional, that's less bullying. And we've seen loads of reports of bullying inside of Parliament. It's becoming like, and that's the normal, and this just isn't right. And Involve UK are a deliberation charity, and they're working with governments and councils all across the country to basically bring the public into decision making, have more deliberation. They've actually suggested a citizens' jury to help rewrite some of the rules for Parliament. I think by having people who represent the British public in helping shape democracy for the future will start to reverse some of this trend. But I think everyone can agree that what we have at the moment, with the toxicity, with the bullying that's allowed, with the rewriting of their own rules inside that house, is appalling, and it needs to change. And it can change. There is hope. As I mentioned, there's so many ideas for how that can happen. So I'd love, Rishi Sunak to get around the table with some of our organisations, adopt some of these policies, and really show a commitment, not just in words, but in action.
Thank you for joining us live. Jessie Jo Jacobs, Director of the Democracy Network.